Nayib Bukele is a Salvadoran politician who assumed the presidency of El Salvador on June 1, 2019. At 42 years old, he is the youngest president in the country's history and has attracted attention not only for his policies but also for his presence on social media. Bukele belongs to the New Ideas Party, center-right, and has implemented several measures during his term that have completely transformed the country. But why has he revolutionized the world? The reality is that statistical data attributes certain merits to Bukele, the president of El Salvador, one of the smallest countries in all of the Americas, with a territorial extension that has experienced a significant reduction in poverty and inequality in recent years, according to the World Bank. An example of this is the poverty rate, which decreased by nearly 50% by 2019, and extreme poverty, which dropped from 10% in 2010 to almost 1% in 2019. Additionally, according to the Gini Index, inequalities among the population historically decreased in 2019, making it the lowest in the region. Nayib Bukele has implemented measures and strategies to address the gang problem in El Salvador, which has historically been affected by gang-related violence, such as the Mara Salvatrucha, MS-13, and Barrio 18 gangs. To combat them in 2019, Bukele proposed declaring gangs as terrorist organizations, a measure that generated controversy and criticism both nationally and internationally. But the truth is, according to the latest statistics provided by Bukele's government, more than 60% of the country's population has expressed feeling better with the implementation of Nayib Bukele's anti-gang and terrorism plan. In 2022, facing an escalation of violence in El Salvador, the government led by Nayib Bukele took decisive measures to counteract the situation. By implementing a state of exception, they embarked on an intense campaign against gangs, particularly the Maras, that instilled fear in the population. This strategy aimed to reverse the criminal trend that had peaked during that year, bringing relief and peace to the general population, who could resume their daily activities. Bukele incarcerated more than 65,000 criminals or suspects out of the country's 6.3 million inhabitants, including the most elusive leaders of these gangs. One recent high-profile arrest was Amadeo Yovani Hernandez Perla, known as El Grillo, who was sentenced to 634 years in prison for being responsible for at least 23 homicides, among other crimes. To encompass the magnitude of prisoners, Bukele carried out the creation of the Terrorism Confinement Center, which is the largest prison in the entire region and one of the largest in the world. This space is designed to accommodate 40,000 people and was built in February 2022. Until now, the press has not had access to this prison, located 74 kilometers from the capital, San Salvador. As a result, the reduced crime rates have allowed merchants to resume their operations, even moving from one neighborhood to another with their products without fear of attacks or the need to pay extortion to gang members. Banks have also resumed operations, nighttime outings, food delivery services, and even physical activity in parks and squares. This improvement in the environment has created a safer and more conducive atmosphere for various daily activities, according to the inhabitants of the Central American country. So much so that El Salvador has become the country with the lowest homicide rate in Latin America. In 2023, it continues to be so. In fact, July 2023 will be marked as the safest month in the history of El Salvador, with more than 20 consecutive days in which the population did not have to lament the loss of a loved one at the hands of the practically extinct terrorist structures. Despite President Nayib Bukele's decision to extend his term, which, according to various experts, contradicts constitutional provisions, approximately 70% of the Salvadoran population supports the possibility of the president's re-election. But if you want to know more about who Bukele is, his war against gangs, the Terrorism Confinement Center, the controversy his measures have caused worldwide, and ultimately, how life in El Salvador has changed since Nayib Bukele took office, don't hesitate to take a look at our documentary, divided into two parts, El Salvador with Bukele. We bid farewell for today. Don't forget to subscribe and give us your like. Until the next extraordinary walk.